Good morning and welcome back to Sports Today. We bring you this video every single morning to help you catch up with things that you might have missed out on that you were when you were catching up on some all-important rest. Because let's face it, whilst you and I may need sleep, the world of sport doesn't really sleep. So let's get straight to it and let's start off with the one thing that was on everyone's mind yesterday. That 100 run stand and that 100 run score from Virat Kohli. Now, Kohli, obviously, this means that he's gotten back-to-back centuries, which has led to a lot of praise really coming in from a lot of people. Tim Saudi, who's currently, of course, playing the ILT20 and is also the bowling coach of KKR, has praised Kohli and said that, both him and Rohit, as long as they are contributing and as long as they are actually doing well, then their age should not be a factor. Because, again, there has been a lot of chatter, a lot of talk about them potentially being phased out of ODIs or certain people within the team management wanting them out of ODI cricket. But Saudi's opinion is simple. As long as they're performing, it shouldn't matter what their age is. And it is something that is also echoed by former South Africa star JP Duminy. Duminy himself said the same thing, that look, they're performing well. Age shouldn't be a factor. Performance, truth be told, is the main thing that needs to be a factor when you are talking about whether or not to keep someone who's getting on there in that side of age. Now, again, Kohli might be 37, but as fit as ever, as driven, as focused. And it is exactly that led to a lot of praise for Virat from Irfan Pathan. Irfan Pathan on his YouTube channel put out a video where he actually talked about how driven and fit Kohli looks at this point in time and why it is that that's only a good thing really going forward for the Indian team. Because again, in ODI cricket, you're still kind of waiting for that transition. But why would you need a transition when your top stars are performing as well as they are? And neither Rohit nor Kohli, truth be told, are showing any signs of slowing down. So there shouldn't be any debate. But guess what? Somehow that debate still rages on. Switching our focus now, but still staying with the sport of cricket, there was some chatter about Pat Cummins potentially making a surprise comeback during the Ashes test in Brisbane, which is currently taking place. It started off today, but, well, he is not, in fact, in the 11. I'll just quickly go through what it is that the 11 is for Australia. Remember, it was England who won the toss, opted to bat, currently 94 for 2. But in the squads, if you're looking at it, there were two changes that Australia made. Josh Inglis came in and Michael Neser came in. Nathan Lyon and Bo Webster were the ones out. So still no Pat Cummins as things stand. But what this means is that for sure, come the third test, you're going to see the Aussie captain back leading the side and also leading the bowling attack. One person who's also been in news a lot lately is Andre Russell. Remember, not only was he released by KKR ahead of the auction, he also chose to announce his retirement and join the team as a power coach. So what is happening now is that we're also getting to hear from Russell. In an interview, he said that he wanted basically to retire right now because he still felt like he was able to actually perform well, and he wanted to walk away at a time when people were asking him why instead of why not. Something he did reiterate even in that video he had put out stating his retirement. And what he also said was that I don't really want to be fading away. I want to actually go out on my terms, which is a pretty respectable stance. One, no doubt, helped by the fact that his affiliation with KKR continues on. Switching focus now from the world of cricket to the world of football, and there were midweek fixtures in the Premier League that have potentially changed the course of where the title race in the Premier League is heading. Arsenal, well, their title charge continues. They beat Brentford 2-0, which means that their 5-point gap as far as the current table, well, it stays intact. They're still 5 points ahead of their closest challengers, Manchester City. And as for the team that were potentially going to be the third team giving them contention, Chelsea ended up suffering a shock 3-1 loss to Leeds United, a relegation-threatened Leeds United, I might add. Although speaking as a Chelsea fan, it's a result I kind of saw coming, mainly for one reason, is that this Chelsea side much better suited to playing well against the big teams, much worse off when coming up against the quote-unquote smaller teams who will be parking the bus, playing with a 5-man defense, and then forcing this Chelsea team to find space rather than playing up against big teams who will offer them space on the counter, or if you are able to press them into mistakes. This Chelsea team still a bit of a work in progress. This result really confirming that it is potentially a two-horse title race between City and Arsenal. Chelsea maybe outside chances, but that's pretty much the extent of it. And you'll notice that in this entire thing, I haven't spoken one word about the defending champions Liverpool. Well, that's because they needed a late own goal to salvage a 1-all draw against Sunderland at Anfield. Yes, at their home ground, they needed a late own goal to actually end up getting a decent result. Otherwise, they were very much on the verge of a loss at Anfield, which would have surely ramped up the pressure on Arne Slot. As it is, it's not like the draw does anything much. They still remain well out of touching distance of the title defense, and I think at this point, the title defense shouldn't even be the aim. It should be climbing back up on the table and potentially competing for a Champions League slot. Title's gone. Forget about it. You won it last year. You've already lost it this year, and it's not even Christmas. That is just the way it is. Couple more news items before we wind up on this video. An American woman who had accused UFC fighter Conor McGregor of sexual assault has now dropped her lawsuit, which would come as a bit of a relief to McGregor because he's found himself embroiled in a lot of controversies. But still, it's yet another smear on a man who was anyway known for being controversial, known for being outspoken, not the kind of controversy he'd have been wanted to be associated with, but the lawsuit has been dropped. And if you're an Indian badminton fan, there's also good news for you because India's shuttlers, including the likes of Tanvi Sharma and Tharun Manipali, actually produced a very dominant display at the Guwahati Masters Super 100 tournament, with a lot of home players progressing to the next round with commanding wins. And it wasn't just these two, there were several players across the men's and women's side who managed to actually make it into the next round by playing well. Now, obviously, a Super 100 is right down the totem pole as far as the tournaments go, because again, you've got Super 300, Super 500s. These are the bigger tournaments. The Super 100 obviously is a little lower on the totem pole, but Indian badminton really needs new stars to keep interest in the sport going, and it's refreshing to see that a lot of them are potentially at least trying to step up to the mantle. But that's it from us on this edition of the Morning Wrap. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, if you enjoy our work, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon, follow us also on social media. We're on Instagram, X and Facebook, and stay tuned through the day for more such updates from the world of sport.